It was a hot September afternoon in the Central Valley, 1966. I'm tooling down Highway 99 headed south to Riverside, California to start the new school year after my summer job. The 57 Ford was green, had a stick shift, a big V8 engine, and best of all, I had paid nothing for it. My brother had been drafted into the Army and was on his way to Vietnam, and he just gave me the car. Wow, how good can it be? Things were going well. No air conditioning, so the windows were rolled down. The radio did work. And I have not a care in the world, just having a fine time driving down 99 until I hit the Grapevine. And if you've ever been over the Grapevine, you know it starts climbing up. And as it did, the temperature started going up. Pretty soon I found a place to pull over, had to let the engine cool down. After it cooled down, I headed on up the road. It got hot again. So, stopping and starting, I finally made it to the top. By that time, it was getting dark. And I got this bright idea that turned out to be not quite so bright. I thought, you know, my engine's still pretty warm. I'm at the top of the Grapevine. I'll just coast down the other side. So I put the car in neutral and started coasting on down the road. The only problem is when I get to the bottom, the car won't go anymore. I pull over to the side of the road, and there's a filling station on the other side of the highway. I get across, call my grandfather, the big SOS. I'm stuck here by the highway, could you come and get me? Well, he drives all the way over 60 miles and picks me up, gets my belongings in the car, go back, I start the school year. At the end of the week, I run across a buddy of mine, Gary. And I tell him my problem with the car. What am I going to do about that car? It's still stuck at the gas station back there, at the bottom of the Grapevine. And he says, oh yeah, I know quite a bit about cars. I don't think there's anything too much wrong with it. I think we could probably get it fixed in a short amount of time. In fact, I'm on my way up to Lodi. I'll give you a ride. We'll stop by, fix the car, and you'll be fine. So we get in his car, drive up, and he determines that it's not going to be so easy after all. The clutch is out. And at that time of night, there's no way to get another clutch. And so he says, well, sorry, Bob, but I'll see you later. I'm on my way. Well, now I'm in the back of this car with not too many clothing, and it's starting to get chilly close to the ocean. I had a trouble light, and I turned that on, and that provided a little bit of heat. But I shivered through the night, made it through the next morning, walked about a mile down the road to a parts place, bought a clutch, took out the transmission, stuck the clutch in. I'm thinking, well, things are going pretty good. Got on the way down the ground, got under the big old heavy transmission, put it up there, pushed it, and it wouldn't go in. I stirred around, and finally I was too tired, I had to put it down. And multiple attempts. Every time I just was exhausted, couldn't do it anymore, and I didn't know what else to do. I went around to the gas station guy and said, I'm having trouble getting this transmission in. You got any ideas? He said, well, no, we don't know anything about that. We just pump gas. Well, finally, a couple of guys showed up. It turned out they were cousins. And they had filling station uniforms on, and they had popped in there looking for work. And they said, well, there's a guy out back needs some help. Why don't you see about him? Oh, yeah, I could use some help. Well, they got into the car, and within 5 minutes, we had that transmission in, all buttoned up and all. And when I went to pay them, I whipped out my checkbook, and the guy's face fell. And Joe said, that's not going to do us any good. Nobody's going to cash a third-party check here. And I looked at their car. Their license plate said Oklahoma. And as I got acquainted with these guys, they were cousins. Their two wives were in the car. A baby was in the car, and a small child was in the car. They pulled into the gas station looking for work because their gas tank was on empty. They had no money and no food for the kids.
Oh my.
Well, I said, well, we've got to get this check cashed. So we went to the restaurant. We went to a bunch of other small businesses around and tried to get the check cashed. Nobody was going to cash that check. And I was getting pretty desperate because I knew that we couldn't drive too far on that empty tank of gas that they had. We got back to the filling station kind of scratching our head. And the waitress came out of the restaurant and said that she had talked to the owner and that they would cash my check if I had ID and so on. So we got the check cashed and gave them the money. And they were so happy. And I was so pleased as well because I felt very bad that I didn't have the actual cash to pay them. Well, they started, as soon as they got the money in their hand, they started saying, well, yeah, what are we going to do? It turned out that they had a job promised to them in Bakersfield, so all they had to do is get over the grapevine over to Bakersfield, they'd be fine. So, of course, the number one, gas. You're going to get enough, buy enough gas to get to Bakersfield. Well, the next item that was on their agenda was, guess what? A pack of cigarettes. They needed that, okay. And then the other guy said, well, you know, we could use a little bit of booze. Let's buy just a small bottle. And I'm thinking, what's with these guys? And by that time, the long-suffering wife meekly spoke up and said, we got to buy some milk for the baby and some food for the kids. And they kind of, okay, I guess so. And so that experience, number one.
For adult services over 10 minutes. Thank you.
It showed me that even when you're struggling, if you keep hanging in there, eventually you're going to get that clutch in and get that transmission and get the car running. The next thing it showed me was that in this world, even people that don't know you can show kindness and help people out in need. I helped them out, they helped me out, and the waitress helped us both out. And the third thing I learned was that there are people with a whole different mindset than me. I would have been frantic if I'd had little kids with no food, no gas, no money. And I don't think my wife would be patiently sitting there while I discussed buying some cigarettes and some booze. But a different type of mentality, and everybody seemed pretty calm about it. Everything seemed to work out okay for them, so I learned a little bit about some other type of people that we have in this world.